Today, we dig into recognizing the stories that we tell ourselves. So this is a broad topic and it affects our whole being. So from, simple one-time interaction with a stranger to our biggest lifelong goals, the stories we tell ourselves and generally believe rule our thoughts, which rule our actions and our decisions, which rules our mood, demeanor, and ultimately our personalities. So according to Dr. Joe Dispenza, 80 to 90% of our thoughts are exactly the same as yesterday. He says that our neurons that fire together wire together, and every day that we have these same thoughts, they are becoming more and more ingrained and harder to change. And we've mentioned this in previous videos, how our bodies physiologically react to the hormones that are produced when we have those negative thoughts.
Does anybody remember the book Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day? Now, I remember that book from when we were kids, and that's an exaggeration of how our days can go. But I agree with you, Dena. The stories that we tell ourselves affect our lives in big ways and small ways. We all know a Krabby Patty, and we might even make fun of their negative attitude at times, or we might simply steer clear of them. But we can also take a minute to quit pointing fingers and realize our own limiting beliefs and the often ridiculous stories that we tell ourselves. And I'm going to use myself as an example here of how we can perceive things in a way that is completely unintended. So and this would be like from someone else's standpoint. So I love short haircuts, and I admire a good looking short haircut and the person who rocks it. Therefore, I am very likely to be caught staring at women with cute short haircuts. And I have no idea if I'm smiling like, oh, that's a cute haircut, or if my eyes are narrowed, like I'm imagining what I would look like if I had that haircut. Like, what would that look like on me? So you kind of see my point. They catch me staring at them. I don't know what the look is on my face, and they're thinking I'm giving them, some kind of dirty look maybe. And so these cool gals that I'm admiring could easily take my gawking offensively. And whether they do that or not has more to do with their own mood than my stare.
Oh my gosh, how funny. So that shows us how we can decide what our story is and what we want to believe in random situations with strangers. And I know we had given another example on a previous talk. When you think about it, if a stranger's giving you what appears to be a dirty look, you might instead wonder, what's wrong with them or what put them in such a mood. It's surely not you, as you've done nothing wrong to be, your beautiful self. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're jealous of your presence. It could be your looks, your energy, but if someone is truly directing a nasty glare, kind of towards you, it's all about them. It's not about you. And when we learn to quit taking things so personally and quit being so offended, we gain a lot of ground towards overall happiness. And I really do feel all that is a choice and an absolute mindset. So, but what about bigger stories we believe in? Those limiting beliefs that we have mentioned, maybe even some cognitive dissonance from, I'm perfect for the job, one moment to, why would they pick you in another? That's where our stories, if we refuse to change them, keep us in a rut. And if you've been implementing anything we've been talking about this past week, it's likely that you've identified some limiting beliefs in your own stories that you tell yourself as well.
And I'm kind of laughing because I'm like a full-time resident of potential land, I call it. I think to myself, oh, I'm good enough. Heck, I could do that just about as good as anybody. I just don't feel like it right now, And it also sounds like I'm also like the queen of rationalization as well. But I'm a reflective person, and I've known this about myself for years, but yet until recently, I hadn't changed much of that story. So Dena, let's discuss how we begin to change those stories.
Yeah, actually, we begin by recognizing them as stories. So let's highlight some of the pointers from Don Miguel Ruiz in The Voice of Knowledge, where he says, as little children, we are completely authentic. We never pretend to be what we're not. Our tendency is to play and explore and to love in the moment, to really enjoy life. Nobody teaches us to be this way. This is just our nature before we learn to even speak. And when the human mind is mature enough for abstract concepts, we learn to qualify everything, right or wrong, good or bad, beautiful or ugly. We create the story about what we should be, and we put our faith in the story. And the story is what becomes truth for us.
Yeah, I like to think about that because imagining little kids before they learn to talk, and it's all about them and everything's great, and they don't worry about what they want, what they do, and then later when they do, like it's when their mind is becoming more capable, that's when they start categorizing stuff as good or bad. And then he also says, humans are born in truth, but we grow up believing in lies. One of the biggest lies in the story of humanity is the lie of our imperfection. It's just a story, but we believe it. And we use the story to judge ourselves, to punish ourselves, and to justify our mistakes. And everything in God's creation is perfect. If we don't see our own perfection, it's because our attention is focused on our story. The lies in our story keep us from seeing the truth, but with awareness, we can change the story and return to truth. And I just wanted to mention here, I've thought a lot about that. It gets harder to beat yourself up when you realize that every one of us, was born in divinity and has, God inside of us.
Mm-hmm. So true. Yeah. And it's so priceless. We were knit in our mother's womb in his image, and we are unique and different. And, the Bible says comparison is the thief of joy. And it's true. Don't compare yourself to other people. You are uniquely, divinely made, and you have strengths that nobody else has. You may have weaknesses too. We all do, but that's okay. Really focus on your strengths and your gifts, and move forward. And that's where this information is just so priceless, because if we can choose to take in and act on it. We've taught this to so many people, and the feedback is just phenomenal. And I love hearing stories about how someone got into like their dream home. They hit a goal they never thought, it was like so big and audacious, they never thought they'd hit. They overcame something adverse. These are things that you can do as well once you put your mind to it and change the story and the programming that has happened. So check out some of our other conversations on purging. We have very simple tools for you to follow and hopefully help you feel more carefree, empowered, healthy, light, and far less toxic, overwhelmed, and stressed. And Lisa and I have absolutely enjoyed helping you shift and purge. We look forward to hearing about your journey through this process, and how hopefully you can share what you plan to incorporate moving forward.